We need to talk about this.
There's nothing to talk about.
Please, just listen.
Fine, I'm listening.
He only meant to help a crying child on a rainy night, but hours later, when a convoy of black SUVs surrounded his tiny house and a billionaire mother stepped out with terror in her eyes, he realized saving that little girl had just pulled him into a truth powerful men would kill to keep hidden. Stay with me, because what that mother revealed will change the way you see courage, parenthood, and fate forever. The rain had been falling for hours, turning the narrow streets into rivers of reflected streetlights. Amir tightened his jacket as he hurried home from the late shift at the mechanic shop. Being a single father wasn't something he had planned. Since his wife passed away 3 years ago, his world had revolved around one small person, his 8-year-old son, Zion. Every day was a balance between exhaustion and love. He worked overtime to afford Zion's school fees. He cooked, cleaned, checked homework, and sometimes fell asleep sitting upright on the couch. But he never complained. Because when Zion smiled, it felt like he had won the world. That night, just as he turned into the small park near his home, he heard something that didn't belong to the sound of rain. A child crying. Not the loud, demanding cry of a tantrum, but the broken, terrified sob of someone who had been alone too long. Amir followed the sound toward the old swing set. There, curled on the wet ground, was a little girl no older than 6. Her dress was expensive, soaked and muddy. Her tiny hands were shaking. "Hey, it's okay," Amir said gently, crouching down but keeping his distance so he wouldn't scare her. "What's your name?" She looked up, eyes wide with fear. "Lena," she whispered. "Where are your parents, Lena?" She shook her head. "They said to hide. Bad men were following us. Mommy told me to run if anything happened." Amir's heart pounded. He looked around the park. Empty. Too empty. "Do you know your mother's number?" he asked softly. Lena nodded and recited it from memory. Amir called immediately, but the phone went straight to voicemail. He couldn't leave her there. And he couldn't take her to the police yet without understanding what was happening. The fear in her voice wasn't imagination. "Come on," he said gently. "My house is right there. My son is about your age. You'll be safe." After a moment of hesitation, she reached out and held his hand. Inside the small house, Zion stared in surprise as his father entered with a girl dripping rainwater. "She was lost," Amir explained quietly. Zion didn't ask questions. He simply handed her his towel. "You can wear my hoodie," he said shyly. For the first time that night, Lena smiled. Amir made warm tea and soup. As Lena ate, she kept glancing at the window. "Are they coming?" she whispered. "Who?" Amir asked. "The men in black cars." Before he could respond, headlights flashed outside. Not one car. 4. Large black SUVs parked in front of his modest home. Doors opened in perfect synchronization. Zion froze. Lena dropped her spoon. Amir stood slowly, heart racing, stepping in front of the children instinctively. A tall woman stepped out of the central vehicle. Even in the dim streetlight, she carried an unmistakable presence, power, wealth, authority. But her face carried raw fear. She rushed forward before the security team could stop her. "Lena," she called, her voice breaking. Lena jumped off the couch and ran toward the door. Amir opened it cautiously. The woman dropped to her knees, hugging her daughter tightly. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry," she whispered into the girl's hair. Amir watched, confused, relieved, and uneasy all at once. The woman stood up slowly and looked at him. "I'm Sarah Rahman," she said, her voice steadying. "And I owe you more than you know." He recognized the name instantly. Sarah Rahman, the billionaire tech CEO. One of the most powerful businesswomen in the country. What was her daughter doing alone in his neighborhood? Before he could ask, Sarah's expression shifted. "There's something you need to understand," she said quietly. "You didn't just save my daughter tonight. You stepped into something dangerous." The rain seemed to grow heavier. Chapter 2. Sarah asked if they could come inside for a moment. The security team stayed outside, scanning the area. Inside the small living room, wealth and simplicity collided. Her tailored coat brushed against Amir's worn sofa. Lena clung to her mother's arm. "We were followed today," Sarah began. "Not by kidnappers, by men who want to silence me." Amir frowned. "Silence you? My company is about to expose a data surveillance network," she said. "Powerful people are involved. Politicians. Investors. Criminal organizations hiding behind legitimate businesses." She swallowed. "They warned me to stop. When I refused, they threatened Lena." Amir felt a chill run through him. "We had security," Sarah continued. "But someone inside leaked our route. They forced our car off the road. I told Lena to run into the park while I distracted them." Amir's fists clenched. "You're saying they could still be looking?" "Yes," Sarah answered quietly. "And now they know someone helped her." Silence filled the room. Zion stepped closer to his father. Amir had spent years avoiding trouble. Keeping his head down. Surviving. But he looked at Lena. Then at his son. No child should live in fear because adults were corrupt. "What do you need?" he asked. Sarah looked surprised. "You're not afraid?" "I am," he admitted. "But I'm more afraid of teaching my son to walk away when someone needs help." For the first time, Sarah's eyes softened. Over the next hours, Amir helped her contact a trusted journalist and a government official not involved in the corruption. His simple home became the safest place because no one would suspect a billionaire hiding there. By dawn, arrests had already begun. The leaked evidence went public. The men who had chased them were exposed before they could retaliate. As the sun rose, Sarah prepared to leave. "I can offer you anything," she said. "Money. A house. A job." Amir shook his head gently. "I didn't help you for a reward." She studied him for a long moment. "Then let me invest in your son's future. Education. Opportunities. No publicity." He hesitated. Pride battled practicality. Then he looked at Zion, who stood beside Lena, both laughing softly now. "Okay," he said quietly. "For him." Months later, Amir received a letter confirming Zion's scholarship to one of the best schools in the country, funded anonymously. Sarah kept her promise. But more than wealth, something else remained. Courage. The story spread quietly in private circles, not about the billionaire, but about the mechanic who chose bravery over fear. And sometimes, late at night, when Amir tucked Zion into bed, he would remember that rainy evening. He hadn't saved a billionaire's daughter. He had simply listened to a crying child. And in doing so, he had shown his son what it truly meant to be a man. Because real strength isn't in money or power. It's in standing up when it would be easier to walk away. And that terrifying truth Sarah brought to his door that night? It wasn't about danger. It was this. Even ordinary people can change the course of powerful storms, if they choose courage over comfort. If this story moved you, remember, sometimes the smallest act of kindness can rewrite someone else's destiny.